Black Cat Lounge is sponsored by Beacon, a home for those who have a passion for filmmaking and the unusual. The Haunted Hinsdale House. Those who walk there do not walk alone. Paraware, apparel for the action-seeking paranormal investigator. Dragonfly art and soul for all of your magical, metaphysical, and spiritual needs. Mystery Control, your go-to feed for science, magic, true crime, the paranormal, and so much more. Niagara, one of the top rated destinations in Western New York. The Black Cat Lounge is part of the Paraflix Entertainment Network. Hey everybody, Tim Shaw here. Thank you for sharing your Tuesday night. Now, here in Western New York, it is raining. I shouldn't even say raining out there. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I heard some people cobbling out there, and I think they're building an ark. I'm not quite sure, but the thunder is divine. Just as I was playing our intro, there was a thunder strike or thundering around me. And it was like, oh, that was a good one. I hope it got caught on the air, but yeah, probably not. But you know how it is. But I love these nights. These nights are the best in the world. We got a great show for you tonight. But first, I got to thank everybody for coming out to Mystical Emporium last week, Friday, for a scrying class that we did. And it was fantastic. I had a lot of fun. And our guest actually was there. She is the guest of honor. But you know, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about just how cool she is. You know how it is, because why she's here. And we have a special hello from my good buddy Kenneth. Kenneth is always great to be in there. Anyway, and our good friend. I can't believe it. This is my. I love how I love. There we are. No, she's not coming up. Anyway, oops. I don't know what happened. Oh, I got a feeling. There we are. And we got from Peg. I ran out of wood to finish building the ark today, our good friend Peg. Anyway, listen, I want to bring out our guest. Our guest is so much fun, and she's so knowledgeable. And I love her and her cronies, and I'm going to call them what they are. I'm throwing it out under the bus. I'm throwing the proper word out. Her and her cronies. Her cronies are a riot, and they all came up Friday night, and I always appreciate it, but I love them so much because they're just so much fun. And we have just a ball when we're all together. So our guest tonight is the executive director. I have to make sure I have it right. Executive director. That means I have to go, and when I go in there and I give her $10 to get into the museum, I give her extra $2 because she's the executive director of the Palmyra Historical Museum. It's a beautiful complex, has 5 buildings. We'll talk about the buildings tonight, and it's haunted as hell. That's the way the only way I can say it. It's haunted as hell. And I'm going to talk about the first time I took my friend Frank, and my buddy Frank just was like, I love this place. This place is just great. And, you know, Frank's pretty jaded, but he had a ball. But my friend, our guest tonight, is one of the hardest workers out there. She's always out there just researching. She's rebuilding stuff. She's painting stuff. This complex, I don't know how she does it, because the complex is I won't say it's immense, but it's a city. It's a town block. It's a town block. So I have to throw my phone on the ground because of the fact it's starting to buzz. Because why? Everybody wants me to be asking questions to our guest tonight. So our guest tonight is the fabulous, fantastic, effervescent, iridescent one of the most knowledgeable people of the burned over district here in New York State that I know, the fabulous Tracy Murphy. Tracy, how are you, Miss Fabulous?
Goodness, wow. I'm on fire over here with all the accolades.
Well, you know how it is. And here,
Oh,
and just to let you know, Irene, who has just went and sent in a comment, is one of Tracy's cronies. Yes,
yes,
and
she is.
they
Yes.
are just a little. They are just a little crazy, but I love them to death. Tracy, thank you for being on today. I am so
Ah,
thrilled. First of all, I got a chance to see you on Friday, which is great.
yes.
And it was so nice of you to jump on the show. And I got to tell you that out of all the places, out of all the museums that I've gone to, and you guys, and I mean, I'm always wandering around,
Mhm.
you never know, I drink too much. I wake up, I'm in some other town somewhere, in a museum somewhere, not knowing where I am. But out of all the places that I've woken up at, the Palmyra Historical Museum Complex is probably one of the nicest. Tell everybody really what the museum is, because it's got a great history, but tell them
It
just
does.
generally, because I love the place. It's really phenomenal.
Yeah. So when we do our promotions, we always say 5 museums, 1 destination. And that is because 4 of the museums are on one street. So our historical museum, our Erie Canal Depot, our print shop, and then the Phelps General Store are all right next to each other. And then just across the parking lot on a separate block, we have our 5th museum, which is the Ailing Coverlet Museum. And the coverlets are woven blankets. They're almost 200 years old, and we have the largest collection in the country. We have well over 700, probably close to 800 coverlets.
It's
Um,
amazing. I got
yeah.
to ask you, I've always wanted to ask you, because now I've done gallery
Mhm.
in the Coverlet Museum. What's going on in there? What's there's some it's a little haunted in there, right?
Yes, it is actually. I mean, it's not, it's in the top 3.
Right.
It's not 1 or 2, but it is probably, I would say probably number 3. We do have, it used to be an old newspaper building.
Oh, that makes
So,
sense.
yeah, and
That makes
we're
sense.
we're pretty sure a lot of us have seen, there's a woman that is upstairs. She loves our lectures. She likes to peek down when we're doing lectures to distract us. So we do a lot of and then we look at each other going, so that's kind of fun. And back in the days of World's Largest Ghost Hunt, we used to do one of the locations was at the Coverlet Museum. But there's a couple little children there. There's a little
Hmm.
boy. You hear different things. It's actually a pretty cool place in the dark.
Well, because when I was doing gallery there, I mean, everybody knows, I do readings and stuff. And when I do gallery there, I'm always like distracted. I'll be
Distracted.
working and I get distracted off to one side, and then, for whatever
Yeah.
reason. So that's why
Yeah.
before you know what, that was one of the big questions I wanted to ask you about it, because of the fact and I wanted to ask you right up front, because I will, man brain will turn off, and next thing I know,
Yeah.
I won't know what's going on, and I'll forget to ask you that
Yeah.
question. Now,
Yeah.
the museum itself, it's uh, it's right. I mean, literally, you guys are like almost right on the Erie Canal, right?
Yes. Yep. We're like one building away from the actual canal. I mean, it's less than, I don't know, you just take a few steps and you're right there.
It's
Um,
amazing.
it is. It really is. And I mean, Palmyra in itself is a pretty amazing place. But when you throw in the history, and then you add a little bit of the mystery, we have the perfect storm, literally, in a good way,
Oh,
with
you
our
do.
yeah,
What
yeah,
I
we're very fortunate.
what amazes me, is, first off, for all you guys out there that have been living under a rock and don't really know what Palmyra is. Palmyra is the birthplace of the Church of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. and it's got so much history there. You know, if you're a history nerd,
Come to
you can.
Palmyra.
Oh my God, you can spend a week there.
Mhm.
And
Yeah. Yep.
I was kidding Tracy when I was, last week Friday. I said we did the gallery. We were up to what we did, and we usually do a séance afterwards.
Yep.
I was up to I don't forget, we were up to like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
I was already at the Joseph Smith house, the prophet, founder of the Mormon religion. I was out at his house into the sacred grove where he saw Christ and he talked to God, and in the back. And I'm posting it, right? So I pull over to get some gas on my way home, and Tracy texts me, I just woke up. It's noon. What's wrong with you being up this early?
Yeah. I think those were my exact words. What's wrong with you?
What's wrong
We
with you?
just went to bed.
I was up. I can't.
Yeah.
You know how it is. You know what? It's one of those places, but Palmyra is one of those places that has a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And the historic district is amazing. So if you get a chance, and again, what's so cool about this museum is it is several buildings on a single block.
Mhm.
And you never, I mean, to me, it's really something that just oozes history, and the stories that are there are, excuse me, the stories are just so profound. And you can park your car and then just walk, and that's what I like. And of course, there's a pizzeria I always stop at, but that's
Yes.
that's one of the most important things about being an urban traveler. If it doesn't have a good pizza shop, well, then you only get 1 star. It's got a good pizza shop, you're getting 5 stars. But
Woohoo.
see, that's why you guys get 5 stars.
Yeah.
Let's talk about let's talk about the main building, the main
The historical museum.
Yes, tell everybody about that, because it's got a great history to it.
It
And then
does.
the way that we'll talk about it is sort of before a fire. Okay, we'll just kind of talk
Mhm.
about it a little bit,
Yep.
and then we have to talk about what happened there, because this
Yes.
story is amazing. And then I'll tell you what happened when I took Frank there.
So the historical museum, its original location was on William Street, right behind our Main Street buildings. And it was built in 1826. The picture you're seeing is the front of the building, and that's the newer section of 1898. But originally, it was called the St. James Hotel. And a lot of different people came into the St. James. Not a lot of people that had, a ton of money. So a lot of your canal folks would have come in, gotten a room, and been entertained and done things there. Then in
That was very
that's
diplomatic. I can
thank
tell
you.
you're the executive director. It was a
Yeah.
bordello, okay, people. We'll just call it for what it was. But yes, that was
Oh,
good. I
boy.
thought that was very, very
I think
genteel.
lightning just struck right outside my window. We are in trouble.
I knew this was
Oh
going to
my
be a tough
gosh.
interview
Yeah.
tonight.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So in 1898, a gentleman by the name of John Riffenberg purchased the St. James, and his intention was to just have a bar. He wanted a saloon. But he found out pretty quick that if he wanted his liquor license, he would have to have dining. So he put
Mhm.
on 2 dining rooms and then his bar room. Very successful. He also put in more m- fancy rooms upstairs.
Mhm.
Now, at the St. James, however, you did not rent the room, you rented half a bed. So some of the rooms were big enough that you could have 2 beds, which literally meant 4 people, which a lot of people, it just blows their mind that 3 women could be sleeping in the room and one guy shows up and he's going in, and vice versa. So they didn't really discriminate. They didn't care. It was an empty bed and it was money. So then as the years went on, basically, if you had money, you went to the front, you went to Riffenberg's. If you didn't have money, or I say drunk and disorderly, you went to the back. Yeah. And then after the Mr. Riffenberg passed, it went to his daughters. The daughters lived in the back section for a while, ran the hotel. Then it became like a penny saver after they passed. And then it was lawyers' offices. And the lawyers kind of came in and threw down the shag carpet and all the paneling. I'm sure it must have been quite beautiful. I didn't have to see that, thank goodness. It would have been distressing. And around 1976, there was, urban renewal was coming through, and people were like, no, we don't want these old buildings. We want parking lots. And that's what was going to happen to the St. James. They were going to tear it down and put in a parking lot. And we had just opened up the Coverlet Museum in July of 1976. And someone just said, hey, we've got this really small collection in the library. What if we had our own building? And so the powers that be said, great, let's do it. And they purchased the hotel, and that was wonderful, except they had to move it. And so the plans were made to move the hotel from William Street to its present location today on Market Street.
Now,
which
let me
is
let me
crazy.
tell. First of all, I love the museum because it's got some great. First of all, it's got great vibes to it.
Yeah.
An unbelievable collection. Love the collection. I mean, you have medical
20
equipment in there. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's a medical equipment. You got the first floor where the actually the bar was. That is like you have you got all your fire memorabilia. You have military, which being a Civil War guy, going up there and seeing that's like amazing to me. Then you have, and I'm just gonna warn people, when you go up there, if you like Victorian mourning items like I do,
Gloria.
Tracy will not tell you that there is a mannequin dressed up in mourning. And the first time I went up there, I think it was I was a cameraman. I was a cameraman. We were filming there, and I walked in there and I just about peed myself because all of a sudden there was just this mannequin standing there, and but it's great, and they have an unbelievable toy collection. It's just great. So I bring up my friend Frank, my buddy Frank. I said, let's go for a ride, Frank. We go, and Tracy is taking us for a little tour of the place, and we're upstairs. Now we're on the second floor, and we're walking down this hall. And all of a sudden, nobody is near this light fixture. The light goes, and it's during the day, light goes, bink, turns on. Tracy now I know she's gauging Frank. She knows me. I'm used to this, but she doesn't know Frank. She walks
and
up.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, he's not that big. He thinks he's
fight
big.
or flight.
He's bigger than me. He walks. She just walks up there and just pulls the little tab, turns the light off, right, and just makes nothing of it. Frank stops, goes, "Whoa, did that light just turn on?" Tracy goes, "Yeah." He loved it. He still talks about it.
Oh gosh,
that was that. I think right then and there, that's when he fell in love with the place. Because it's just amazing.
That was only one museum.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
And you also have a pretty cool room for like a lot of the different faiths. You got you have the Mormon faith, and of course you have the spiritualists. Because how far away are you from the Hydesville Cottage Foundation?
We're about, I think it's like 15 minutes. Yeah. So it's literally right down the road.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's amazing, because if you get a chance to go out there, and if you live in New York State and you live in Western New York, Rochester is, not that far away from Buffalo, but you're only 35 miles away from Hydesville. So you're not actually not that far away from Palmyra. And that's what I love about it. And, it's just a great place. But so, Frank just said right then and there. I remember on the way home, he goes, "I like that place. That's got a lot of good possibilities." I said, "Well, I'll go. I'll go there." Yes. So tell everybody about the other buildings now.
Oh, so next to our historical museum, we have our Erie Canal Depot. And it's a very special little building. I think at first everybody called it the tenant house because
Right.
William Phelps had purchased the building and rented it out as apartments. So it was always affectionately called the tenant house. And our former director has this way with words, and she would say, every building has a story. And they just didn't know the story of this building yet. And then when they figured it out, it was like mind blowing. The basements, there are stalls for mules that used to pull the boats for the Erie Canal right down the street.
That's
So the
amazing.
mules would come up and they would put them in the basement and water them and feed them and do their things. And then, when they were rested, they would go. And then you could also buy tickets there. So you could get your ticket, you could bring your luggage, get it weighed. And then every once in a while, you'd have somebody spending the day or the night upstairs. It's a really cool building. It's probably it's hard to say which one is my favorite because it changes with some of the stuff that we do. But the intention for this museum is to really make it hands-on and, more of have a children's feel to it, a children's museum. That was always the intention.
It really is a neat place.
It is. It really is. Yes.
Now I got to ask you, next to that is the print shop.
Yes.
Now, was that always a print shop?
So that was an addition put on by William Phelps,
Uh-huh.
and he used it as storage, but then he was like, oh, hey, I could make money off of this if I rented it out. And so that's what he did. And then it was the print shop. And the printing presses and the paper cutters and all of those things that we have in there were specifically made in Palmyra by our printer, John M. Jones. And he sold them all over the world thanks to the Erie Canal. So we have a lot of his stuff. We even have a paper cutter that is bigger than I am. It's awesome.
Yeah, that place there. Yeah, I would. That one,
Yeah.
I've seen it, and that thing even scares me.
But
that'll take your arm off real quick.
Yes, and you know what? And the sad thing is that blade is so sharp from 1870s. Never in a million years would you feel that. It would just, we've never sharpened it. And that thing cuts through a stack of 6-7 good phone books in just one chop.
Yep.
It's really cool. But the nice thing is all the printing presses work. So this summer we're doing a Father's Day event where we're going to bring people in to make postcards and stuff like that. So again, hands-on, because, you go to a lot of museums and they're like, don't touch this, don't, but we want you to. We want you to feel that history and, and experience it. So.
I think what's so important is the fact that you take it from a two-dimensional experience, making it into a three-dimensional experience.
Yeah.
Something where people can go and just get a taste.
Yep.
And and that's the biggest thing. It's like ghost hunting.
Yes.
I for years I used to cringe at when they'd say, Tim, we need you at a public ghost hunt. I'd go, oh, but you don't realize the fact that people come in and they just get that little taste of it, and they either A, come back, or B, they go and start becoming more active. And I think that's probably the biggest problem I always had with history, which is one of the main reasons why I became a reenactor and, an investigator, because of the fact that I'm always out there with history and we're always reliving it. And that's what I think is so great. Now, let's talk about, let's I don't know, the thunder hit and all of a sudden we lost.
I'm seeing that. I'm like, oh my gosh,
we lost a little bit, but the crown jewel, my favorite place. Someday I'm going to convince Tracy to let me sleep overnight in there.
Anytime.
Well, I love it. It's just an amazing place. Let's talk about let's talk about the general store.
The William Phelps General Store and Family Residence. This year it has turned 200 years old. It was built in 1826.
That's amazing.
It is such a gem. The building is so wonderful. When you walk in there, your jaw just drops. There were many different things in the building between 1826 and 1868. It was a bakery. It was the store. It was possibly a place where men and women could meet up. Who knows what was going on? A couple years ago, we turned it into a speakeasy. It was a good time. But the cool part about this building is the family that came in 1868 and they purchased the building. They made some changes so that they could live upstairs on the second and third floors. And William Phelps and his wife, Catherine, they were just wonderful, nice people. They ran the store. They had 2 children. Their daughter was Mary Louise. She was 10 when they first got there. And their son, Julius, was 17 days old. And they lived there the rest of their lives. In, about 1900, Julius took over the store. He was married. He had a 5-year-old daughter. And his parents just kind of retired. Unfortunately, about 5 years later, they passed away. And it was up to Julius. Around 1940, we're not really sure what happened, but he decided he didn't want to do this anymore. And so July 30th, 1940, he opened up as usual. It was just a normal day, sold whatever he sold. And then at the end of the day, he locked the door and he went upstairs and he handed the key to his daughter, Sybil. And he said, I quit. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And he offered the store to her for $1, which she declined. And there was a reason for that. And after that day in 1940, they never went back in the store. So everything that was left on the shelf that didn't sell is still there today.
It's amazing. There. One of the big draws, and I will say one of the big things that I'm working on an article about the Phelps store. And when I talked to my publisher, when I pitched it, I think what got it was the fact that there are eggs still there.
1940.
It's amazing. If you go and when you walk in there, it is a typical general store. It looks like something out of the Waltons.
Yes.
Excuse me. I better explain.
Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, I better explain to people that are too young for the Waltons with a TV show about living during the Depression in the country. Okay, that's the best way I'll describe it. But it is something that is amazing because the canned goods, boxes of soap. I mean, it has everything in there that a general store would have.
That we still have today.
Yeah, it's just sitting there. It's all there. And to me, that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
So the other thing that
and let's not forget though, Tim, they never had electricity.
No, or running water.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the family lived there from 1868 until 1976 with no luxuries that we pretty much take for granted today.
Tell everybody the bath. One of my favorite stories that Tracy tells
is the bathroom.
The bathroom story.
Oh, yes. So around 1900, Julius did something very strange that no one could figure out until a little later. And then it kind of made sense. But if you go upstairs into the laundry room, there's what looks like a closet. If you open the closet, you will see a toilet. There is just one toilet sitting in this room. It is not hooked up. It has never been hooked up. And Julius did that because he wanted people to think that he had money when he didn't. And so, people would come over, or he would, maybe be on the main street bragging about his indoor toilet when they're all still outside using the outhouse. So, it didn't make sense until it made sense. And then it was like, oh, I get it. Like, fake it till you make it.
Exactly. It's an amazing place.
Yeah.
Now, the last Phelps. Let's talk about Sybil. Sybil is, you know what? I have to tell you that I have such an affection for Sybil now. I really do. And we did a seance there last year, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the interview. But I have to say that she is, I swear she walks those halls without
Yes,
even
she
thinking
does.
twice.
Yep. She is very much present. When I come in the morning, I always make sure I say good morning to her. When I leave at night, I always make sure I say good night to her. Um, it's pretty much her house.
Yes,
We
yes.
just come in and we do what is necessary to keep her in her home. But boy, when she wants you to know she's there, she will let you know.
Oh,
Um,
oh, oh, yes.
Yep,
I've seen it
we know
firsthand.
that very well.
Yes. Now, you know what's amazing is now there's 2 floors to the upper apartments.
Yes.
How much of that furniture is original to the actual place?
Um, there are, well, all of the furniture is original. There's probably maybe a few chairs that people can sit on that
Hmm.
we've brought in. Because obviously we don't want people sitting on some of the furniture that
Right,
is,
right.
175 years old. And then on the third floor is all of their bedrooms, and that furniture it's all their stuff. Their dishes are still on the table.
It's amazing.
Their, all of there's canned goods in the pantry. Their clothes are still in the closets. I mean, it's really incredible. It's like they just said, "Hey, we're going on vacation. We'll be back."
It's one of those
Um,
places that it comes alive. And if you
mhm.
now, I've done the psychic walkthroughs for different shows and that. I always remember the first time I walked in, and again, I was a camera guy, got my camera on my shoulder, and I'm following people up and down the stairs and stuff. And I always remember we got up on that second floor, or the third floor, actually, is what it is, where the bedrooms are.
Yeah.
And you could just get that feel where it was just like overwhelming. And later on, when I found out that all the original clothing and everything were there, I thought, well, that's why they're still there, because their essence is still in that
Yeah.
building. And
Yep.
that to me was probably, that I think that's what really opened my eyes to it.
Yeah.
Now, tell everybody about Sybil, because Sybil was such an amazing person.
We well, today is the 31st, so it's
Hmm.
modern spiritualism day, or Hydesville Day if you're where I live. And Sybil was a spiritualist. She grew up the only child of Julius and his wife Mamie. She was the only grandchild, and so she was afforded luxuries that most children her age were not given. When she wanted new clothes, her grandmother and her aunt and mother would get on a train and they'd go to New York City and buy her
Wow,
clothes.
that's amazing.
So, for her, that was like everyday life. As she got older, she would go to the Eastman School of Music in Rochester. And when she was done there, she went to a boarding school in New York City to become an actress. And that was her goal.
Wow.
She wanted to be famous, she wanted to be an actress. Unfortunately, around 1920, 21, 22, the school was having some difficulties financially, and she wrote a letter home to her father asking him for money, not only for her, but for the school. And he wrote back and said, no, no money. And I'm going to give you some choices. One of your choices is you can come home and you can get married, or you can come home and you can get a job. And so Sybil came home and she chose to get a job. And she worked for a monument company. She worked for Barnhart Monuments. And that's what she did. And she took care of her mother until she passed. She took care of her father until he passed. She never married. She just lived her life. But, surprising to her father, she was a spiritualist. So she did do seances and messages and circles and tarot cards. She loved astrology and astronomy. Numerology was her favorite.
Hmm.
We asked her. And we all heard her say numerology, which is great for her. So, for her to have been the last family member living in her house until 1976, people wanted her wanted better. They would say, let us put running water in, let us put in a toilet for you. And she would just say, hey, if it was good enough for my family, it's good enough for me. Which is crazy when you think of some of the New York weather that we have.
Right.
And she's trekking down 2 sets of stairs to go out to the outhouse in the backyard. Like, oh no, no, thank you. But she did, and she didn't have a problem with it. She was interesting in the fact, 1970s kids would see her on the sidewalk and they'd cross over to the other side because they didn't know how to take her. After her father died in 1960, she dressed in black. That was her thing, and I think a lot of it was her family was gone.
Right.
She had cousins that she corresponded with, but I think the really cool thing about Sybil is that she left all these things for us. And I sometimes I just sit there in the middle of the collection and I think she had to have known. She must have known that someday we were going to
Mm-hmm.
come in here, because I'm not going to lie, she was a hoarder. She saved everything. And God bless her, because we wouldn't know half the stuff. We wouldn't know about her and her father collecting coal along the railroad tracks in the winter. We wouldn't know that she wrote a letter to Barnum and Bailey and Ringling Brothers to see if there were any openings in the circus for her.
Wow.
Yeah,
That I did not know. That I did not know.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yep, yeah. And she was 40 years old when she
Yeah.
did that. So, and we have all of that, which is fantastic. So to say that she is still there, she is still there, every bit of her. And
Anybody that
yeah.
goes to the museum
Hmm.
and excuse me, and you go up those stairs, I'll just call it what it is. It's a hellacious flight of stairs going up.
It is.
And the minute you get to the top, I swear every time I've ever been there, I can always feel her there. And
Yeah.
sometimes she's like, why are you even here?
Hey.
Why,
Mhm.
do you belong here? And then other times it's like, we got to talk,
Mhm.
and
Right. Yes.
one of my highlights, and you know what, I was so thrilled a few years ago when you asked me to do gallery, and I was able to do it. And we came out, and we had a good time. It was just fun time. And then you said, would you do a seance? And normally, and everybody kind of knows anything about seances, that if there's two types of seance, there's open and closed seances. And open seances is when just a bunch of people get together, and then closed seances when the same people meet on a regular basis. And the problem with open seances is that a lot of times they never happen. Nothing really happens. And we've had a couple interesting ones. Last year, Tracy, was freaking mind blowing. We went, and
Was.
it was mind blowing, guys. It was mind blowing because yours truly packs all this crap up, because I know that you know what? I mean, these people are donating. We're going to go and we're going to do something. So I got Ouija boards. I got all this, I got all these toys, because if nothing happens, we can still have fun. Last year, first off, the gentleman at the end of the table, he's got hearing aids. Sucked the power out of one of his hearing aids.
Poor Keith.
and he's like, my hearing aid, it just died. It died. And whenever you have any kind of spirit stuff and you got a bit D-cell batteries and stuff, and they're working, yeah, it does that. It'll pull the battery, pull the power right out. And then we're in there, and we're starting it up, and there's two ladies that never experienced anything. Now, the year before, I mean, we got some vibration. Everybody had their hands on the table, and the vibrations started coming up, and we could feel the vibrations. So let me tell you something about this table. We're at this table. It's a dinner table. My buddy Frank says to me, is that the table that I tried to move and it was like real heavy? And I said, yeah, this thing is what is it? It's got to be
It's
oak.
oak. Yep.
Yeah, it's a big oak. What does it say,
Yep.
about 12 people? It's a big,
Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
it's a big formal table. So we're sitting there and we got our hands on the table and you can feel the vibrations just coming up. They're just coming up. And I'm going, oh, this is cooking nicely. This is nice. And people are like, there's shadows behind you here. There's shadows over here. It's like somebody is peeking out of the doorway. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
okay. Now it's really, really starting to get, kind of active. And I'm starting to get like a buzzing in my ear. And I'm like, I got tennis on it anyway, but I mean, it's like this was a different type of buzzing. And I'm going, oh, okay. And then I'm going to tell, then you can tell about what's caught on a CCTV camera.
Yeah. Yeah, because all of a sudden the table starts moving. And, it was so subtle. Just, and everybody just went with it. That was the good thing. Because
Yeah.
I'm looking and I'm thinking, okay, any second now, somebody's going to freak out. They're going to jump up. They're going to stop this. But they didn't. And it was great. And after, it slowly stops and we're like, oh, okay, thank you. That was great. Thank you, Sybil. Because I think you had said, Sybil, it's your birthday. If you want to come forward,
Yeah,
her picture
please.
was on the table. We had her crystal ball. So
Yeah.
it was all set up for her. And boy, did she just make her presence known. But, I got home after that and I was thinking, you dummy, you should have brought your iPad so you could have recorded this just in case this happens, because nobody's going to believe it.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
Even though there were 10 people sitting around the table.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm laying there and I thought, wait a minute. We've got cameras in there and they are motion activated. And I just sat up and I'm like scrolling through and 16 seconds. And the best part is your voice. Your voice. Oh, shit. And we're all just moving with the flow.
Well, this table,
it's just like, oh my gosh.
Now, a lot of times when they do table tipping and when you're learning how to do table tipping, you're using a card table. It's light. Mm-hmm. Well, something of this nature, this table was so heavy. The vibrations are coming up and it was like butter. All of a sudden it went 1, 2, 3. And then the fourth one was way out and then came back. I remember Tracy sitting there going, oh shit. And then, well, it's not going to get any better than this. It's already this used up whatever. She used up everything. This was hers to say, thank you for celebrating my birthday, because that was probably one of the most interesting, most exciting little things that we have done. And it was just so much fun.
It was.
It was. We had a couple of devices go off and stuff. Mm-hmm. But the best one was poor Keith.
Yeah. Poor Keith, that hearing aid.
The one ear went off, and then at the end, all of a sudden you hear the buzz, and his other one drained too. Yep. And he goes, I went and I charged these. These were just charged. These are all I charged these just before we came here. And I'm just laughing, going, yeah, I think Sybil was looking for a little bit of a push, and I think she found it with you, buddy.
She did. I know. Yeah, I was sitting there. I had taken my shoes off because I thought, I'm just going to get comfortable, get my feet on the ground. I didn't have, it was just my feet. But when that table started moving, I was thinking, oh no. And I was kind of trying to look at you because I thought any minute now he's going to stand up, and that's our cue. We all should get up, but where are we going? And I'm thinking, well, I should have left my shoes on. I'm never doing this again. But it was all good. She was careful.
Yeah, she was. And I have to say that, a lot of people are always like, you got certain people that find demons everywhere. And I have to tell you that Palmyra, I've never found anything negative in there at all, ever. Now, tell everybody about, just quickly, in the main museum. Now, wasn't there a fire and somebody died in the main museum?
Yep. So our historical museum, one of the reasons why we were able to move it to Market Street is because that particular lot was open. Mm-hmm. In 1964, there was a rental house there. And there was a family living there. It was a mom and dad, Anna and Paul Breeden, and they had 6 children. Dad was out of town, and it was December 21st, 1964, when a fire broke out around 2:30 in the morning. And Anna and the 6 children were killed. A lot of people think, oh, that's horrible. It's tragic. That's where the story ends. However, it becomes a little more difficult because Mr. Breeden wasn't home.
Right.
And he actually pulled into Palmyra, but the fire police had said to him, sorry, buddy, you can't go down to Market Street. There's a fire. And he said, oh, okay. And parked up on the main street and went to an apartment where one of his friends lived. That to me was a little suspicious because, hey, if I live on Market Street and I'm coming home after a trip and you say to me, you can't go down there, there's a fire on Market Street, I'm going to Market Street. I want to know that my family's okay. And he just didn't do that. The next day they did find him and they said, oh, we wanted to let you know that that was your family that died in the fire. They say that he was pretty upset. Anna and the 6 children are buried in one casket, one grave. They're in Tennessee, I believe. I usually get it confused. It's either Tennessee or Kentucky. But that's where she was from. So he wanted to take her back to her family. And then, of course, he kind of moved on. A couple years go by, he remarries an older lady who had children, grown children. So they never had children together. And then one day out of the blue, he got a phone call from a young girl who said, hi, I'm your daughter. And he said, oh, no, all my children died in a fire in 1964. And she said, no, that wasn't my mother. So, yeah, it came down to him having an affair with someone else and having a child. So, the rumor mill in a small town just churns
Oh my God.
again.
Yeah, it must have exploded.
Yeah,
Must have
so
exploded.
and I think the sad part is they could never find out what the cause of the fire was. They just basically described it as fast and furious and an accelerant was used. So, it's just really it's sad. But the building was moved there in 76. After the fire, they bulldozed everything into the basement and then
Right.
covered it with dirt and sand. So it was just an empty lot. And then when they started to build the foundation for our building today, they had to dig out the old basement. So when you go in our basement, you are going into their basement and all the charred,
Yes.
charred is there. And it wasn't really until like the late 90s when our previous director, Bonnie, was going through some old files at night. And she had heard, a woman and some crying and things like that. But she just, it's an old house, whatever. But then she's going through these old newspapers and she came across this horrific fire, December 21st, 1964. And it said 132 Market Street. And she stopped and she looked around and she said, this is 132 Market Street. And it just it was like the door blew open. And so from there, she brought in some friends that were investigators and that's how everybody was able to figure out like who, what, where, and when. And it's such an interesting story, but we tell it because the children are there.
Right. I agree.
Yes.
Because when I was there, again, when we were filming, I
Mhm.
haven't investigated the basement like properly. Last time I was down there, I was filming, and it was. I have to tell you, I got the heebie-jeebies down there. I don't
Yeah.
really get heebie-jeebies very often,
No.
but it was like constantly like, and it felt like
Vibrating.
and it felt like somebody was touching me. The touch of my lower back. Like somebody little was like, hey, you turn around.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking I was like bumping into something, and no, it's a unique place. I have to say that Palmyra, when I go in my top 10, it's number 2. I won't
That's
lie.
awesome.
It's number 2 because of the fact that it's history oriented. I love the history.
Yep.
I love everything. I love all the architecture. I love the fact that it's in a historic part of town, but the spirits and the opportunities to investigate are amazing. Oh, and I did I tell you that when we were using a box there. We were using a radio scanner, and it came through Tracy. I don't know if I ever told you that.
I've heard it a couple times. One time a group left me alone with their spirit box on. And they came back and I said, "Are you kidding me? Don't ever do that again." Like, what were you thinking? I just kept looking at it like, oh my gosh, not a lot gets me going. But, like when we work there, so we expect to hear what we hear and see what we see
Exactly.
and all that stuff. But then when it does happen, I'm just like, oh, wow, what happened?
I love it.
Yeah, I've been leaving the oldest child, Eddie. He is 8, and I always leave him in charge on the weekends, so it's
That's
good.
great.
I always tell him.
I'm just going to tell you I was standing there, and I remember because I don't like spirit boxes because I call them nosebleed boxes because it's just all the static, and no matter you got a filter on it or not, and it just went. It's like, and it went, Tracy. And I'm like, no, it's like, Tracy. I was like, okay, I'll tell
I know.
you.
Yep.
So I forgot to say.
Yeah,
Tracy,
it's crazy.
We're already out of time. Tell everybody about what's going on because you guys are so active. I have to say it's so active. You guys are really, really one of those great locations that you actually go and you become creative. And you're always looking to try to go. And again, museums have to be able to go and get sources of revenue in. And you guys work so hard, you and your staff. And I love your staff. I think they're the greatest,
They are.
But what are you guys doing? And how can they get a hold of you guys and check out more stuff?
Yeah. So we have a website, historicpalmyrany.com. We are on Facebook. We actually have a couple Facebook pages. We try to cater to everybody, and sometimes the paranormal is not everyone's cup of tea, and that's absolutely fine. Some people don't like history, and that's okay for you too. But we do have our Historic Palmyra. Palmyra, New York is one of the Facebook pages, and then we have the Historically Haunted paranormal page for Facebook. So you can find us just by typing it in. We have so many events coming up.
Yes, you do.
We, like you said, we're a nonprofit. We own our buildings. So if I want to get paid and I want Megan to get paid, we have to work really hard at it.
We love Megan.
Yes, we love Megan. Megan's going to graduate this May with her master's in history, and I'm so excited.
That's fantastic.
Yes, she is. She's fantastic. But we have to be creative. So we usually try to do a lot of public ghost hunts. A lot of our investigators will come and rent out the buildings. We do 4-hour investigations. 1 to 6 people, it's $300. You get 2 buildings. We give you a key. We don't bother you. We let you do whatever within reason. And we're doing a Victorian brunch for Mother's Day. We're doing the printing for Father's Day. We're going to go to a Paracon this year, which we've never done before. So, to promote ourselves, we really just want people to come and experience us. In the summertime, we do an Underground Railroad walk. That'll be coming up in May. We're doing the Burned Over District in April. That's a talk. Yeah, you name it, we do it. Sybil's birthday in October. Yeah,
I love it.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Tracy, I love everything that you guys do. I think it's great. And you know, unfortunately this year I've got a previous engagement, so I can't come up for Sybil's birthday. But the replacement that you chose, he's great. I love him.
Yes.
So
He's
you know
a great
what?
guy.
I couldn't have thought I couldn't have had a better replacement than him. So
Right.
I'm
Well,
so happy.
I sat down at my desk and I said, "What would Tim do?"
No,
then I said,
don't ever do that. Never do that again. Tracy, stay on the line so I can thank you properly off the air. And thank you again so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for being one of our best supporters.
Well, I don't know about best supporters, but I just hang out with cool people. That's all. Thank you again. That was Tracy Murphy. Tracy Murphy is the executive director of the Palmyra Historical Museum, and it's a complex. And I have to tell everybody out there, really support your museum, support nonprofits. You guys know how much I believe in that, and you guys know how I'm out there digging up tombstones in Concordia Cemetery, and I'm raising money here and raising money there for preservation. You've got to be able to do that, because why? Even though you may be paranormal investigators, even though you might be into something, whatever, the idea is you got to get your hands dirty, and you have to be able to go and support these locations so that they can keep going for future generations and hold the history that we just love so much. So guys, take care, be kind to each other. And you know what, guys, just remember something that's so simple, so important. Be good. And you've been listening to Tim Shaw. We're at the Black Cat Lounge, where the elite meet next to the dumpster transfer station. Ciao, babies. Next week. Take care. Bye-bye.